Chaos Cup 2023 was record-setting in many ways, from raising $6,000 for a local children's hospital, to being the largest U.S. major with over 200 attendees, to the Sevens event being the largest Sevens tournament ever at 74 participants. This weekend will never be forgotten by those who attended. I try my best not to oversell or undersell any events I attend, and I'll gladly offer criticism when I feel it's relevant, but I believe Chaos Cup should be the gold standard of how to run a U.S. Blood Bowl tournament. I can't name all the staff and everyone who helped out, but James Luft and Sean Cowley did an amazing job. If you helped out setting up the event, please mention in the comments so you can get the credit you deserve. Before we get too far in, what is up, coaches, cheerleaders, and Warp Spawn? I'm using the YouTube timestamp feature thing on this video, so you should be able to jump around pretty well. I've moved the more vlog-like stuff to the back end, so anyone who just wants raw stats can jump into those bits. Please, if you like what you see, like, share, sub, spread the love, and let's get into it. How the event was organized might seem like a weird place to start, but it's absolutely worth it in my opinion. Let me set the scene for you. You arrive at the Wyndham Orlando Conference Center. Immediately inside is a desk where you provide your name, and you're handed a packet which contains your printed out rosters, a score sheet, and the event special rules. You also get a swag pack with all of this and a lanyard. Tables are neatly arranged with plenty of space on all sides to get through. More importantly, and what I wish every tournament would adopt, the tables are marked with numbers so it's easy to find where to be. You can clearly hear when pairings are posted, announced by a person with a speaker and microphone.
The round 3 pairings have been posted. Go ahead and find your tables. We will get started at 5 minutes after 10, so a little after 10 minutes from now.
And you can check either Facebook or Discord for the list of pairings. There's a visible round timer that counts up to the half, then back down to 0, and called out time reminders at the quarters and the half. Timers are available and encouraged if your match goes off a bit. In the back is a table with a number of trophies, including the giant Chaos Cup trophy. It's a tradition for the winning coach to hold it above their head. All of this combined into a flawless tournament experience.
Welcome to, by a large margin, the largest Sevens tournament that has ever run at... We have a couple of people still showing up in the next couple of minutes. We're going to be right around 70 people. To give you an idea, the largest tournament before that was 46. So thanks you all for being here very much. It's 1 hour for a round.
Chaos Cup Sevens was held on a Friday night and consisted of 3 rounds total. I'll leave the special weather chart on the screen for a second, so pause it if you'd like to read it. Apologies to mobile watchers. The Sacred Egg Ball would pop out of the hands of a receiving team piece that was holding it at the start of a turn on a d6 roll of a 1. I feel like it was a good special rule for Sevens, as it wasn't particularly game warping, but it added an element of strategy, as being too tightly caged around the ball or hugging the sidelines could have ended really badly. It was the standard 600k copper piece build with expensive rerolls and 1 primary skill for free. The Sevens dice were a nice sparkly blue, and mine rolled extremely average for the duration of the rounds, which is never a bad thing. The spot prizes were a really nice addition as well.
The first person to accept a skull, so if you take 2 dice and one of them is skull and you want to take it, as opposed to that push, you will win a GW Lizardman team. And if you are the first person to have the Sacred Egg Ball pop on you, if you are the holding individual, you will win a set of the reprinted GW Lizardman dice.
As far as team spread, well-represented teams were Necromantic Horror, Lizardmen, Amazon, Skaven, Human, and Norse. Beyond that were Orcs, all the Elves, Goblins, and a reasonable number of Slan. Stunties, Chaos Dwarves, Black Orcs, each flavor of Chaos, Old World, Shambling Undead, and a lone Dwarf player were present, but not massively represented. At the end of round 1, the top 6 tables were Skaven vs. Human, Human vs. High Elf, Snotling vs. Chaos Dwarf, Orc vs. Necromantic, Renegades vs. Slan, and Chosen vs. Lizardmen. At the end of round 2, the top tables were Skaven versus Lizardmen, Orc versus Skaven, High Elf versus Underworld, Amazon versus Orc, Skaven versus Renegades, and Slan versus Norse. The top 10 teams in final standings in order were Skaven, Renegades, Norse, Lizardmen, Skaven, Lizardmen, Snotling, High Elf, Underworld, and Amazon. There is a game of triple skulls after the final round, which consists of rolling 9 dice and seeing how many skulls someone can score. I love side games, and this one was a great fit. In the end, we had the championship ceremony.
Thank you for attending by a wide margin the largest sevens tournament to ever exist, ever, anywhere. We're also only 20 minutes behind schedule, which really surprises me, so that's great. The first award that we're going to give away is one that oftentimes gets given at tournaments for somebody who might not have had the best day that ever happened for them. The winner of the Wooden Spoon Award is Jason Rhodes with his quarantine. Next award this evening is the Casualty Award. This goes to a Chaos Dwarf team that put up 11 casualties in 3 games. Donald Morgan. Next up is touchdowns. We had a number of teams that did really well in this, so a bunch of tiebreakers came into things as far as awards at the top of the pyramid, so to speak. The winner of the Touchdowns Award with 7 in 3 games is Kyle Kelly's Skaven team. The winning award came down to several tiebreakers. It actually came down to Netcaz, I believe. In second place, with my models, and only decided to play late in the day, Ryan Fitzsimmons. Come up here for your Renegades, buddy. The Stunty Cup holds a special place in lots of people's hearts. My buddy, the Snotling guy, rocking the wonderful hat, and he doesn't have his mask on anymore. But Brad Arterbury and the Little Prince Shoemakers. Come on up, buddy. And our winner tonight, getting not only a trophy from Maelstrom, but as well a lovely ring that is extraordinarily heavy. I was checking some of you in with it, and I had to take it off because I couldn't actually type the keys with it on because it was so heavy. Thanks to the Gibsons for adding it into this evening. Our winner this evening is Skaven team Nick Weiss.
I asked Nick for his thoughts on his performance, and I think we can appreciate his honesty.
Good dice. Yeah, good dice, and that's about it. That's all I can say.
You think Skaven are good in 7s?
Very good, very good.
Sure?
Unfortunately, easy mode button for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you everybody for coming out tonight. It's been a wonderful time. It's been a pleasure to be with you this evening. If you haven't turned in your comment cards, please do so. We'd like to do better for you next year. We will see you all tomorrow. Thank you.
I don't know how you'd improve on the event, to be honest. It was definitely one for the record books.
How does it feel to have hosted the biggest 7s event in the entire universe?
It's humbling and exhausting, and I'm glad it's over on some level. But it was a really great time. Really glad that everybody came out. Really great to see everybody having a great time with the game that I love and have loved for a really long time. I hope everybody enjoyed it, and more fun tomorrow and Sunday.
Before I even get started with my announcements, I want to thank one person in this world. There's a lot of people I want to thank. But first and foremost, I want to thank Mr. Jethro, for allowing us to be here. And I'll be honest, he gave me the option of, hey, would you be interested in running this event? You could come to Chicago or you can run it in Florida. And here we are. So I pissed off a lot of people in Illinois, but I've been hearing from a lot of people, hey, I'm so happy that it's here. It gives people an opportunity who never had the ability to go out to Chicago to come here for the first time. So give yourself a round of applause.
Chaos Cup 2023 had a 1200k gold base total, a healthy skill package based on 3 team tiers, and had a star player tax that was very reasonable. Giants were allowed as an inducement, and on round 6, players were given Illustrian Lycanthrope with both a Saurus and Amazon form, as well as getting to add 2 mutations to unmodified linemen on their roster. Chaos teams had a special award category and could award the mutations to any positional instead. The event had 6 rounds with 4 on day 1 and 2 on day 2. Due to the smooth check-in process, everything got started fairly quickly. There was a healthy spread of teams at the event. Orcs were the most represented at 16, then it dropped down Lizardman and Norse at 14, 12 Chaos Dwarf and Khorne, 11 Amazon, 11 Chosen, Dark Elves, Halfling, Vampires were all at 9, Skaven and Tomb Kings both had 8, Nurgle and Shambling Undead had 7 representatives, the Necromantic and Snotlings had 6, Chaos Renegades, Goblins, and Wood Elves had 5. Ogres had 4, as well as Slan and Underworld Denizens. I would expect that one to be a lot higher, honestly. 3 Elven Union, 2 Black Orc, 2 Dwarf, 3 Human, 2 Nobility, 1 High Elf, and 1 Old World Alliance. The top 8 tables at the beginning of round 2 were Skaven versus Chosen, Vampire versus Wood Elf, Lizardman versus Underworld, Underworld versus Dark Elf, Norse versus Lizardman, Vampire versus Amazon, Nurgle versus Underworld, and Elven Union versus Wood Elf. For round 3, they were Skaven versus Vampire, Lizardman versus Vampire, Elven Union versus Amazon, Amazon versus Nurgle, Orc versus Shambling Undead, Tomb Kings versus Tomb Kings, Dark Elf versus Dark Elf, and Underworld versus Dark Elf. For round 4, it was Vampire versus Lizardman, Amazon versus Orc, Nurgle versus Skaven, Underworld versus Lizardman, Tomb Kings versus Wood Elf, Shambling Undead versus Dark Elf, Chaos Dwarf versus Norse, and Dark Elf versus Orc. For round 5, it was Vampire versus Underworld, Skaven versus Chaos Dwarf, Shambling Undead versus Amazon, Orc versus Halfling, Orc versus Tomb Kings, Wood Elf versus Halfling, Khorne versus Dark Elf, and Amazon versus Vampire. For round 6, the top tables were Skaven versus Vampire, Underworld versus Orc, Khorne versus Shambling Undead, Amazon versus Lizardman, Dark Elf versus Dark Elf, Amazon versus Chaos Dwarf, Wood Elf versus Renegade, and Lizardman versus Amazon. I think there's a lot we can gather from looking at these top 8 tables and how they changed. I think it's really interesting that there were 2 vampires at various points on the top 8 tables. I would not have guessed that. I think it's interesting that Underworld, despite being very underrepresented in terms of the number of people playing it, also managed to hang out. We would expect to see a couple orcs hanging out up there, but it looks like most of them kind of fell off. We still had 1 at the top tables for round 6 at least. With the Chaos teams I've mentioned before, there is a special award category, so the numbers are going to be slightly skewed towards the Chaos teams. Like, I don't think I've seen that high of a percentage of Khorne at a tournament before. But I think the most important question we can ask is what actually won?
We are first going with our wooden spoon, which, if you all remember, you had to win the final round in order to win the spoon. Winning the spoon, Todd Percival! The winner of the I Am Chaos Award for the best chaos finish from a team is Denny Franks. The winner of the Best Comeback Award, rising 145 spots after round 2, Rob Nowinski. Our coach earning the Middle of the Pack Award for finishing in the 100 position out of our 200 coaches, Mike Treebar. Our Chaos Fledgling Award goes to a player who is here for the first Chaos Cup. Our highest position player attending their first Chaos Cup, Steven Jarrett. Our best offense this year, 20 touchdowns, Max Hanna. Even with 0 casualties in the final round, most brutal with 27, Dubin. Winning the Best Defense Award this year, Alex Alonso! All right, coaches, we're going to the good ones. Third place in Chaos Cup 2023, Mike Coon!
All right, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Mike Kuhn. I'm Frozen Flame on the NAF. I'm Spinball on Fumble.
Okay, cool. How'd you do today?
Today, not so great. I drew Drakenspear on table 1, and then I lost to Saul, the other Saul, on table 1 to get my third place at Chaos Cup.
So not so great for you is getting third place at like the biggest American tournament?
It'd be nice to eventually get first someday.
What were you running?
Vampires.
What'd your skills look like?
Well, I ran a block Bargeist. I had a guard pro blitzer, 2 block pro throwers, a naked runner, and 10 thralls, 3 rules.
Cool. Was there anything you'd change about it?
About the only thing I'd change is taking block pro instead of guard pro on the blitzer. That's about it.
Okay, cool. If somebody was interested in Blood Bowl and going to tournaments and was maybe a little intimidated, you got any sentences you'd say to them?
The community's great. I mean, if you're trying to go to enjoy yourself, there's so many people that'll be cool to you. I mean, don't go in the expectation you're going to win. These are some very good coaches. But go in the expectation you're going to have fun, and you will. The community's fantastic.
Is there any shout-outs you'd like to give?
I'd like to shout out the crew that ran the Chaos Cup and Sevens. They all did a fantastic job.
Absolutely.
Shout out to, all the coaches I played. I played some fantastic coaches throughout the tournament, and played Matt Vanderby round 1. I played Bautstein, I think, round 4. I played Max Hanna round 3. I played some very, very, very good coaches. So I played a guy in round 2, Josh. I just can't remember his NAF name off the top of my head.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Second place, Chaos Cup 2023, Steven Jerry.
We are here today with Drakenspear. He got second at Chaos Cup, the biggest North American Blood Bowl tournament. Thanks for taking the time to talk with me here. You want to tell me a bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'm from Ottawa in Canada. Been playing Blood Bowl since 2020. Got my first taste of tabletop Blood Bowl in the capital city Kickoff in 2020, right before COVID shut everything down. And so managed to play a little bit through COVID, but post-COVID been hitting the tournament scene hard in Southern Ontario, hitting Underworld Cup up in Michigan, and just recently went to the World Cup, and Chaos Cup is my other international tournaments for us Canadians.
Right. What were you running?
At Chaos Cup, I was running Underworld with the Black Gobbo.
Okay.
Troll build. You only get the 5 skills, so wrestle on a line rat, guard on the blitzer, block on the gutter, leader on the thrower, and horns on a goblin, which was stupid. But
Yeah, I love Horns Goblins. I played Renegades for a couple league seasons, and people don't expect it.
well, the Chaos Cup tournament build, right? You got 2 linemen got skills in the last round, and he was my only lineman because he had already gotten a skill. He couldn't get any skills in that free skill part, so I probably should have done something else instead. But hey.
Looking back at your matchups and everything, is there anything that you would have done differently?
No, so I played Chaos Renegades, Nurgle, Lizards, Dark Elves, Vampires, and then Orcs. So I played really well for the Underworld, aside from the Elf matchup. You're talking about, and the Vampire matchup to an extent. You're talking about a lot of bash teams that don't like to have control taken away from them, with bombs particularly. So Black Gobbo did very well in those matchups, even with the disturbing presence floating around with Nurgle. So that's where you're trying to use that build, is trying to use the troll for control. Like the Rat Ogre is a much better blitzing piece, obviously, but you got that strength 5 pillar in the middle that you're not moving around a lot, and the bombs coming in and making your opponent lose control in some scenarios, which allows those fast pieces to come in, rip the ball out, and run away. So
Yeah, I know if I'm playing a high strengths build, I'm super scared of bombs even after all the nerfs. It just affects the action economy so much potentially.
yeah, and unlike a wizard, which I recently took a wizard to the Underworld Cup, that one use time, right? The wizard was completely ineffective in 2 of my games. But with the bomb, right, it's essentially the same area effect, but you get to do it multiple times if the bomber doesn't kill himself or your opponent doesn't kill him. So even if the bomb fails, wildly inaccurate, or even lands and doesn't do anything, you get another shot at it. It's basically a coin flip a lot of the times on what's going to happen, but you flip that coin enough times and you're going to get what you need eventually.
Yeah, it's also really, really juicy blitz bait if it comes down to it.
Yeah, but the Black Gobbo's armor 9+, so he's a little bit tougher. And if you have to blitz into the middle of my pieces to get to him, that piece usually goes down, and he usually gets fouled, which actually happened in the Dark Elf game. He blitzed a tackle blitzer and got the Black Gobbo down, broke his armor, didn't kill him, but then the tackle piece went away, and I was like, I'm very happy that tackle piece came in, and I got rid of it now. So
Yeah, I mean, and it's with some of those things, it's hard to say. I feel like it's one of those scenarios where you can say both things are the right answer. And it's just kind of how it plays out.
Yeah, if he killed it, then it would have been very well worth him for him to lose it. So
yeah. So if someone was new to Blood Bowl, They're thinking about going to tournaments. Maybe they're a little intimidated. If you could throw a couple sentences of advice at them, what would you say?
Well, don't ask your friends, ask the community. Everyone's really good about helping out, and you know, the tournament organizer is almost always going to be very easy to deal with, and you know, they put themselves out to the community to put a tournament out, and they're usually very knowledgeable already at Blood Bowl. So give them a ring. They will help you with build. They will help you with things quite nicely, and you know, there's social media as well. In a lot of cases, can be helpful. It can also be not helpful at times. But you know, if your local group should be very helpful to you on social media, particularly.
Is there any shout outs you want to give or anything you'd like to promote?
Yeah, so I co-run with Not the Porn Guy, the CCKO, the Capital City Kickoff, in January 20th, 21st this year. We're doing an Elven Union theme, so you come with Elven Union, you get a poison dagger to stab people with. +1 on the armor break, -2 on the injury though.
Okay.
So to do that, we have special prizes for the top Elven Union coach and the Elven Union coach who scores the most touchdowns. So there's some incentive to take Elven Union there. It's in Ottawa. It's lovely in January. You know, there's no snow ever, but obviously wrong. But there is the Rideau Canal Skateway, which is usually open at that point, which is the longest skateway in the world. It's a great place to come if you're living in the northern states. It's a great place to come up for that tournament. Also, the Immortal Cup is being held in Ottawa next June. I'll be running the Sevens event before that. We're running low on spots already, and if we hit that cap, we might be able to get some more room. So if we can get people registering early, we can see whether or not there's enough interest for us to rent some more space to make it even bigger. I think we're at 168 capacity, so if we can get that past 200, that would be wonderful. If we can open up more capacity. And finally, I write the Ask Sven Drakenspear blog. I haven't written since July, but I plan on doing some post World Cup analysis, talking about what teams did well, also what the best teams who did the best at the World Cup took as their teams, and why they might have done that, and a variety of other subjects. So give it a read when you see it popping around.
Cool, and I'll have the links for all of those in the description here too. Thank you again for taking the time to talk to me. I know you're a busy guy.
Great. Thanks, Steve. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Our Sunbeam Cup champion for 2023, Isaac Clifton. The champion of the 2023 Chaos Cup, John Lackey.
I'm here with Saul. Tell me about your experience here at Chaos Cup.
My experience was amazing. I came in and I felt like I had a shot at things, but not in my wildest dreams I think it'd be today, you know?
Yeah.
And the tournament was run perfectly on time to the minute.
I agree.
It was a great venue. This is one of the best tournaments I've ever been to.
Yeah, and your record was flawless?
6-0-0, the only flawless record in the tournament.
Fantastic. What were you running today?
I ran Skaven.
Okay,
because
cool.
I'm a piece of shit.
What are your what kind of skill choices? What spice you got for us?
It's not super spicy, but one of my big staples that I kind of live and die by is a wrestle strip ball gutter.
Uh-huh.
I think that they're absolutely critical. So I run them every time. I view them as anti-griff, anti-hack flim.
Yep.
And they also compensate versus a lot of the teams that don't get primary sure hands, you know.
That's cool.
Or just coaches that kind of get a little lazy about picking up sure hands for their carrier.
All right.
Other than that, block on the Roger. I decided block over Juggernaut, knowing that it would worsen my one turn, and I skipped my thrower entirely.
Okay.
And I just relied on a strong defensive turnover rate.
Yeah.
And the block was more intended to protect the Roger, because I view him as a high-value piece that you can't afford to lose.
Well, Armor 9 can hurt too.
Yeah, and Juggernaut is not a defensive skill, so that's why I went block over Jugger.
Yeah.
Other than that, I put tackle on like one blitzer, and I think block on one other gutter just to carry the ball, and that was the whole build. It's 4 gutters, 2 blitzers, 1 Roger, and then 7 line rats. Yeah, I think 7 line rats. We had 14 rats, and 3 rerolls.
Cool. Surprise question.
Yeah.
Somebody's starting out Blood Bowl. They're nervous to go to tournaments. Give them 3 sentences of advice or so.
I don't think you should view tournaments as a barrier to entry. You don't have to get better to belong. It's a great community. I think it's just about finding the courage to dip your toes in the first place, and just know that you should come. It doesn't matter where you're at. We have all kinds of people that come here and attend and compete.
Yeah. And all right, any shout outs you want to give?
I suppose I ought to give a shout out to Nick Blackie, who drove me here. A shout out to this man who I don't know entirely, but I'm in love with.
Rory.
Romantically. Rory. I've known him since kindergarten. I just want to give a shout out to James Left for running an amazing, quite literally flawless tournament.
I agree 1,000% on that.
And I want to, say thank you to Florida Blood Bowl for having stood by me and supported me, and a shout out to Artemis Black for training my new bass from ground up.
Nice. All right. Well, thanks for the interview, man.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations to all the winners. Thanks for everybody who took a few minutes to talk to me. There's also the painting awards, and there were awards based on being the highest ranked for your region, depending on what tournament series you come from. I'm going to go ahead and throw some of that info up on the screen. I'm not going to cover all of it, or else this video will be super, super long. But the event went super well. It was amazing. What is up, coaches, cheerleaders, and warp spawn? We're back at the Reno Airport. Hey y'all, we got an 8-hour layover in Vegas, doing Chaos Cup 7s tomorrow evening. I'm going to be landing hella early in the morning, so we'll see how awake I am for that. If you ever end up flying through Vegas, it's nearly impossible to miss seeing the Shake Shack. Usually end up grabbing something from there because it's so front and center. It's just past the security checkpoint. I had the Shack Stack Burger, which has all the typical trimmings and sauces you'd expect, but it also has a fried mushroom cap with lots of cheese. Biting into it leads to the soft cheese spilling out, and it's pretty satisfying overall, at least better than a lot of airport food. The Orlando airport is basically just a giant mall. It has more stores than any airport I've ever seen. They basically had what looked like a mall food court just tossed into the middle of an airport too. I was not a huge fan of the way the security checkpoints worked and everything. Normally when I go through an airport, I'm being given clear instructions on what to do next, and this one there was nothing. People would just look at you like you should know what's going on. There weren't even signs. But it almost felt more like cattle being herded compared to some of the other airports, if that makes sense. Hoping I can get an early check-in at the hotel so I can at least get a nap before Chaos Cup 7s tonight. We'll see how it works out. But I'm waiting to grab some breakfast right now. For breakfast, I had the biscuits and gravy from Hash House A Go-Go. I've never seen it served with the eggs on top and the mashed potatoes underneath, but it was interesting. Food was quality, and then I ended up getting 2 meals and a snack out of it because of how big the portion was. I think Eggworks is still my favorite biscuits and gravy from a restaurant, though. Let's talk about matchups. In the 7s event, my first game was against the face stomper himself, Dave, playing Slan. We had a ton of fun talking about punk, and anyone who offers me a beer is good in my book, too. The weather was absolutely chaotic in this game. We had sweltering heat, and we ended the game with 4 total models on the pitch. I got some licks in, he got some licks in, but it really just steamrolled. I lost 0-1. I was not quite able to score back, and by the time we got down to 4 models on the pitch, it was hard to do anything really. My game 2 for sevens was against Dean. After a burned reroll on turn 2 this game, I got a bit more confident. We met in the middle, and at one point I ended up with a stupid Minotaur somehow. This game had a bunch of stuns, so neither of us were making a ton of progress, really. We both scored somewhat uneventfully, like it was just really by the books, and towards the end, I did unlock a secret technique that I might be able to use once again ever in the future. It was basically past the point where scoring was realistic for me, and I was being kicked off to, and the ball deviated to the front of like his line. So it was like 6 squares up the board, and then we rolled a high kick result, and it occurred to me I don't actually have to put a ball carrier up there, so I just teleported my Minotaur to his front line and didn't care what happened to the ball, and that was pretty cool. So I'm sure there's some way at some point I'll be able to use something like that in the future, but it was kind of a fun interaction. A failed sure feet rush by the bull centaur meant the game was locked up for sure, though. It was a draw. Game 3 was against another Dave, this time playing Dark Elves. He got a reroll on a kickoff, then I tasted the wrath of the turn 2 elf touchdown. Injuries were on the low side this game, but we both managed a couple. I successfully pushed up the side to tie it up, and then it started raining, which meant it was time for defense till the game ended. I ended at 2 draws and a loss, which was better than I thought it might go. I still feel really new to sevens, and I'm still figuring it out essentially, so I didn't expect a lot here. I was just really hoping to not get 2 losses.
Sitting out in the lounge area in the hotel. It's after the biggest sevens event ever. It was pretty cool to get to play in it. And learning more about sevens and kind of how it works. I don't want to say that the game is completely solved, but it does feel really optimized. To the point that I don't know if I think I was trying to tweak the rules to sevens to mess with it a little. I would probably make every team have the same cost of rerolls, similar to like what Gutter Bowl does, or maybe make the tiering more impactful for sevens, because some teams have like such a clear advantage over others. Something that stands out in particular is how impactful every single dice roll is. If you don't have access to those rerolls, or you don't have, another 10 players on the field, sculling out on one player can just make a giant difference. And the game is such a faster pace because, turn 2 or turn 3 scores are just, it almost feels like an inevitability in some instances. All that said, if I were to do an immediate replay of the events, I would probably just put Block on the Bull Centaur or Juggernaut on the Minotaur instead. And I feel like running the same roster wouldn't feel like the worst thing necessarily. If I was repicking a team, I would probably pick something that had cheaper rerolls, honestly. I think just even having one reroll is huge. Well, it is the morning of Chaos Cup. There are a bunch of people here. It's kind of a given.
In the 11s event, my game 1, I fought against Josh's Chaos Dwarves. He chose to receive, and a quick snap meant things looked promising on his end until my Master Chef stole 2 of the rerolls, and he sculled out a couple turns. I stole the touchdown and turtled out the rest of the game for a win. I wouldn't realize till later exactly how easy it is for this list to tar pit everything. For game 2, I was against Leonard's Amazons. He received and seemed cautious of the Tomb Guardians when he deployed, so I made it my goal for them to be my primary harassers. I managed to stop a touchdown by the end zone with a pal from my thrower, but he would end up doing basically the same thing later because I forgot jump up existed. I lost my leader at the first half, and once my other thrower went down with no successful regions, I was able to tar pit the game to a draw. I was still at 0 touchdowns against for the event. Game 3, I played Eric using Dark Elves. This game felt like a practice in fundamentals, and with an early cage, we each saw a cache or 2. Dauntless was very good this matchup, and it made me rethink how I'd approach running an all-strength 3 team in the future. A Witch Elf that was very marked did some elf things and ended up scoring. I failed pickup on my score back, but a nearby skeleton caught it, and I couldn't make it all the way down before turn 16. This was my first touchdown against, and didn't kill my running for best defense, but I would have enjoyed squashing that Witch Elf first. Game 4, I was up against a legend himself, Full Claypool, with his Vamps. I was apparently the only one who caught on to his Twilight name theming at the event, so bonus points for that, I guess. I stole 3 rerolls in the first half, and at the end there were 8 Vamp players between the KO and casualty box, while I was running a full board. We ended up calling it at half because it was the end of day 1, we were both really tired from the long day, and it was a draw. Game 5 was Chaos Chosen, piloted by Bill. We were talking about Texas, and that's where I'm originally from, so that was a good chunk of the match, and it was really enjoyable. I stole 3 rerolls between both halves, which was great. He failed a foul early, which limited his potential to do it later because he didn't have another bench. The Sure Hands and Extra Arms Beastmen were my target bullying victims for most of the game if I could get to them. The big upset in this game was when the ball got knocked loose on one side and it decided to bounce to the opposite sideline of the pitch onto a player that was completely safe. He ran it in, giving me my second touchdown against. It was one of those moments that you can't really prepare for, and Nuffle's will was done. I was able to pull to a 2-turn touchdown with Kimry to tie it up, which was fine, but I could feel my heart break a little, and I apologized to Bill because I was a bit dramatic at the moment. If I was going to get best defense, it was going to basically require higher ranked players to eat a couple touchdowns, which strategically, the people who float to the top are the ones who are more of a threat for scoring on people, so it wasn't the worst thing. At this point, I was hanging out like upper middle pack in terms of rankings. Game 6, I was still depressed about that last touchdown happening, and I was a little shook, not gonna lie. I do my best not to let that sort of thing affect me or my play, but I got really close to scoring a trophy at a major. Luckily, my opponent was an awesome guy. Played Austin using Chosen, and I can honestly say he had the best positioning of all my opponents for the entire event. He took his turns really quickly and was able to mentally break down the board in a way that I'm jealous of. I got to add prehensile tail to 2 of my linemen this game, which ended up swinging this particular game heavily in my favor. I just tried to turtle as much as possible, and Austin's dice were the worst I have seen the entire event. Stolen rerolls didn't help the situation, but he kept making really optimal plays every turn and failing the roll that was his best chance on any given turn. I want to say at least 4 turns he lost to 1s or skulls, essentially. I had the board so, jammed up, there was no way to do anything without rolling by the end, and between 3 strength 5 guards and 2 prehensile tails, just kind of hanging out in the mix, nobody was going to be getting anywhere, really. I managed to get the ball near the end and ran it further downfield to make it impossible for him to score just in case, and that kind of sealed things. In the end, Best Defense trophy went to a coach with 2 touchdowns against, but my tiebreakers were worse. There were 4 coaches out of the 200 plus that shared that record. Either way, I came very close to my goal and only suffered 1 loss at my first major with a record of 2 wins, 3 draws, and 1 loss. I could have easily fought to win some of those games over getting ties, but I prioritized protecting the ball as much as I could over scoring, and it ended up hurting my tiebreakers in the end. In theory, if I had just stuck at 1 against, my tiebreakers wouldn't have been relevant in the first place, and that was the line I picked. I could have also gone for wins to try to raise my tiebreakers up as much as possible, but I was really just going for the 0 to 1 against. And hoping that would be enough. But in the end, you can't guess matchups. Really, you can just commit to whatever game plan, adapt the best you can as you interact with stuff, and then hope that Nuffle looks favorably on you and the ball doesn't bounce all the way from one half of the pitch to the other. I want to give a shout out to Jonas for coming up and saying hi and talking about the channel with me. It was really cool, and he had this awesome pumpkin theme team that the picture isn't going to do justice here. Also, you should email me, dude. A couple vids back, I said I would follow up on my roster performance after talking about my brewing process, so here's that. My 7s roster was okay, but it really isn't competitive. I'll work on getting something spicier for LVO, assuming I don't just go Skaven, but definitely need to brew something else up for that. I think it's fine for casual play, and that's about it. I loved my Tomb Kings roster, though. I would likely have changed Tackle to Mighty Blow, but really that's about it. I think there's still room for tweaking or experimentation, in particular messing around with the balance of block and wrestle, or maybe throwing a strip ball in. Skill package were super generous. I would take diving tackle on a skeleton, just because having prehensile tail on the one, man, it was so huge. And yeah, I would love the opportunity to play some more jank like that. I really think this is one of the best lists, lists, decks, whatever, that I've ever brewed up for a game. And I am really proud of this roster. I think it has a lot of potential, and I think in the hands of a more aggressive coach, it could have done a whole lot more in terms of the regular rankings. The list already has one confirmed tournament win from somebody else now, so we'll have to see what all we can do with that and how far we can push it. In closing, the only thing I would like to see in the future for the Blood Bowl scene is a live stream from the top table, which, if we see events of this caliber on a more regular basis, it might just become a norm. It already is for a lot of other games, but streaming is usually a labor of love by a couple hobbyists that want to do it, so there might be a niche in the community for that. If anybody is up for it, I think it's something that would benefit overall. It was awesome meeting people that I've either streamed with, recorded with, or just knew from the internet, and seeing random new faces too. It's also surprising when I encounter people who know who I am because of my channel. My take on all that is I'm just a dude with a camera, and if you see me, say hi. I think it's really fun. I also want to add that anyone who is interested in having their event covered, go ahead and contact me at nobribefal@gmail.com. I like to make as many events as I can, and if someone offers me a couch to crash on or the like, really anything that helps offset some expenses, that means I can go to and cover more events each year. I've tried remotely covering events, and it takes a ton more logistics to make the videos, so I'm only going to cover ones that I'm present at least for the next year. I never try to beg, but if you did enjoy this and aren't or haven't, please like, share, sub, spread the love. Let's get this video out there. I started making these this year, and it's been a fun journey, and it would absolutely make my day if this is the tournament vid that actually made an impact in the community. Last thing I've got for you in this vid are some folks who wanted to promote either events or merch they have, and people had some things to throw out. I'm just gonna play the footage for you. I appreciate y'all. And I appreciate the tournament organizers who did an absolutely awesome job. I hope we see more tournaments run at this caliber on a regular basis.
Trying to find some high quality brushes at a reasonable price, and I can't find them anywhere.
Wait, where's the camera? Is it up there?
I don't fucking know.
Where's?
It's a video.
I just feel like I'm looking into the.
Start again.
No, this is part of it.
Okay.
This is great. I love Chaos Cup, playing Blood Bowl. It's my favorite thing. I worked at an American manufacturer making paintbrushes. They're called Minotaur Hobbies paintbrushes. You get the brush set. It's natural sable and goat hair for the dry brushes.
No way! No way!
Can you believe it?
No way!
I just can't. They're good. They're good. Like, check them out. You can go to minotaurhobbies.com and check them out. We gave out a bunch as prizes. Oh, he won one.
I won one!
Whoa! Zootsuit Jeff! Holy crap!
They're real!
And my life has never been better.
I lost 40 pounds just hearing about them.
Oh my goodness. It's like life is a breeze.
Go America.
Thank you so much. Get it right here. Boom.
Sham the host of the Tucson Monsoon Bowl down in Tucson, Arizona. We just had our first one this past 2023. We will be having our second bowl on September 28th, 2024 in Tucson. It's going to be a great time. It's at Tucson's biggest gaming store, and they actually have a full bar. You can drink beer and all that while you play Blood Bowl. So check out my website, www.tucsonmonsoonbbtourney.com. Thanks, guys.
There's a bunch of people I'd like to thank before we hand out awards for being here tonight. But the first group of people that I would like to thank is all of you for being here. Without you, this wouldn't have happened. Thank you. I'd also like to thank my odd man out who was helping me all evening this evening, Rob Fossey. And two of my fellow team members from Team USA when we were in Malta for Euro Bowl last year, Roland and Craig, for helping me keep track of everything tonight. I'd like to thank my friend from back home and co-commissioner Max Hanna for helping print the models that everybody got tonight. I wouldn't have gotten them done in time otherwise. Thank you, Max. I'd like to thank Dean and Donna Gibson for a very nice award somebody is going to take home this evening. They helped out with a extra award for the winner this evening. So thank you for that. I'd like to thank James Luft for asking me to do this and for helping out with all of the prep work to get here. I couldn't have done it without him. Thank you, James. I'd also like to thank Jack from Maelstrom for helping us out with all of the pitches, by the way. Jack did all of the pitches this evening, all of the awards this evening.
I wrote it like a toddler. Almost like a
Keep on watching.